This is Brandon and Stephanie with Precision Defensive Solutions out of Twinsburg, Ohio. And we wanted to take a little bit of time. I know this is the first actual video we've done. We've done podcasts talking about different subjects. But in thoughts of the recent events, we thought that we'd do a video so you can actually see, you know, us talking about it and how we're feeling about this. These mass shootings, they're becoming all too common, and you know, I don't know. It's hard to find the cause, but I tell you, I'm getting extremely angry from the loss of innocent life.
Yes, loss of innocent life and people feeling afraid to go out and live. Because I've had people say on Facebook, I'm nervous getting back to school supplies for my kids. These people are taking away their other people's sense of safety. It should not happen. We should be able to walk into a Walmart, into a Target, into a grocery store, in a mall, and feel safe that nothing's going to happen to us. Unfortunately, we live in a world where there are mass killings, and they are more common than when you and I were growing up. Mm-hmm. Because when you and I were growing up, things still happened. We had the first World Trade Center attack. We had the bombing at Oklahoma City. But those were targeted, like, when you found out about what happened after the fact, you saw that they were targeted. And they were targeted more towards government buildings, not shopping centers, not malls. And then school shootings became common. And now it's malls or stores. Not only are these killers just randomly, sometimes, or not so randomly, killing people, they're also doing it to create fear in our society. And we're allowing it to happen. We need to take that back and say we won't stand for it.
Right. Well, and I think that's where our media has really not helped us with this situation, because when one of these incidents happens, they plaster these people's name and face everywhere, mm-hmm. all over the news, all over social media. And I'll tell you, we're not even going to discuss names and you know, or even post pictures in this video, because they don't deserve it.
No, they don't. They don't deserve to have the recognition, because that's what they wanted. They wanted that recognition. Some of them did. Some of them were just so filled with hatred they didn't care.
Yeah, well, talking about this so filled with hatred, you know, there's people saying because of Trump is why El Paso happened. But you look back on this guy's social media, it had been going on even prior to President Trump starting his bid for the White House. And so where does these things start?
And if we want to blame everything on Trump, sorry, this has been happening since before Trump was even president. It started, well, it was probably even before the 90s, but I remember the first World Trade Center. Trump wasn't even a politician then. He was a business owner.
Right. Well, and going back to that, I actually did a little bit of digging before we started doing this video. And there were, like you said, it wasn't as common, but it actually did happen during Reagan's administration. So the fact of the matter is, it's people make excuses, mm-hmm. and they want to blame somebody, so, you know, they point fingers.
I think it's just become more common because anymore people have, just about everyone has cable, and so you've got the 24-hour news channels that will just talk about it, the same thing, repeat it 6 times in 1 hour, and call it breaking news. Okay, it was breaking news the first time it hit.
Right.
It's not breaking news the 10th time you say it, unless you have something new to say. And then you just keep talking about it and talking about it and talking about it. So again, it goes back to that whole idea of the attention that these people want. And so more people go out because they want their 15 minutes of fame.
Right. Yeah, and it's, with in the world that we live in with social media and all, I mean, we can really go down a rabbit hole when it comes to social media, because there's so many, there's a lot of positives to it. When you can keep in touch with friends and family that you don't get to see very often.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact of the matter is, people have turned it into a platform for extreme bullying.
Yep.
A political platform, hate-filled posts, the arguments that you see on social media. The problem is it keeps going and going and going and going. It never ends. And those people that take that to heart, that may already be angry at the world for whatever reason, may take that personal and get to a point where they just snap.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of these cases is there's signs leading up to these. When we look at Parkland, there was a history of problems. The Vegas shooting, there were things that were out of the norm. Every time something happens, there were things out of the norm, and people aren't talking about it. They don't report those things that are outside the norm.
They don't want to get involved.
Yeah. Or we've gotten to a point in our society that we are so afraid of calling, a spade or a heart, that we don't, we sugarcoat everything.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying not to offend everybody. Well, when there's signs of violence, when there's signs of potential suicide, potential homicide, potential rape, why in the hell do we not say something?
Yes. See something, say something. Even if you're not sure, say something to someone that you think can help. The police are obligated to check into it. Say something. It might be little, but it could save someone's life.
And don't take this as a case that we're all for the red flag laws, because we have a constitution, and we have a process to look into these things, and that process needs to be followed. And a lot of these politicians are trying to go around due process. But the fact of the matter is, nothing starts until somebody says something.
Mm-hmm.
And every time we have one of these mass casualty incidents, people come back and say, well, this person was doing this 2 months ago, or this person was doing this a year ago. Why didn't you say something?
Exactly.
It could have been prevented and lives saved. It's now let's look at the causes. I mean, we talked about, a little bit, we touched on it, but the violence in our media, in our TV shows, in our movies, in our video games. Our video games aren't even games anymore. They are so graphic and so violent. And these kids are learning how to play these games and learning how to fight. Military tactics are in these video games, and they're learning how to do that from a young age, which is programming their brain to do these things.
Yes, because with their brain developing, it is hard for them to separate reality from fiction, from a video game, and to know that what's in that video game is not real, and that you don't go around shooting someone or stabbing someone or beating someone up. And that part of your brain doesn't fully develop until you're in your 20s. So the fact that these kids are being exposed to it at an early age, it does wire them. Some more kids than we ever probably can count compared to previous generations are living, whether it's in their actual household or in a situation like an apartment complex or even a neighborhood that has more violence than usual. So when you grow up around it, you become conditioned to it, and to think that that is the way of life.
Well, let's look at that. So people are growing up in these violent neighborhoods with gang violence. And these people are going out and selling drugs and killing people and whatever else. And when they get caught, they get to the court systems and they're getting a slap on the wrist. And it goes back to, when are we going to actually enact a punishment that somebody is afraid of happening for these violent actions? So that maybe we can curb some of this stuff. You know, is it going to stop them all? No, it's not. It's there's people that are just wired to do bad things, and it's really unfortunate. And you know, a lot of people, they jump right to the, well, it's mental illness. Well, it's not always mental illness. Sometimes it's just, that's the way they're wired. We've got to do something about that. You know, people want to talk about more gun control. Okay? As gun owners, and every gun owner knows, there are numerous laws on the books already that address mental illness, that address straw purchases, that address domestic violence issues, you know, being just discharged from the military under less than honorable, you know, conditions. You know, renouncing your citizenship from the U.S. is on the 4473 and can be, you know, a factor. But the fact of the matter is, the general public is listening to the media saying, no, we need more, because that's what the gun control advocates are saying. Well, how much more can we do? There are so many gun laws, you know, plus we have people that are talking about the standard, you know, semi-automatic handgun as being a fully automatic. Folks, fully automatic is not legal. Just saying. And there is a major difference between one trigger pull, one shot, versus one trigger pull, and you empty the magazine. So, you know, we've got a bunch of people that don't understand how these things work, that are pushing for these new laws.
How about we just enforce what we already have?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you that don't think that criminals will walk into a gun store and fill out a 4473, which is the background check form, to buy a firearm, guess what? They do, and they get caught all the time. All the time. You know, it's if you had heard some of the stories that we've heard, you know, from gun shop owners, it happens a lot more than what you think.
So the laws are working. We just need to make sure that they keep working. So law-abiding citizens can be protected. because there aren't enough police. It's just a matter of, it's just a matter of fact. Because not all of us can be police officers. We can't afford that. And some of us aren't meant to be police officers. And they can't be everywhere at all times. So we are responsible for our own safety. And whether that means you carry a gun, you carry pepper spray, whatever the case might be, if you are legally able to, you should be allowed to. We should not have that right taken away from us. So then if something does happen, we can respond. And that's why you should train.
Yeah, training's a huge thing. Just to kind of push more what Steph just said, police officers show up to actually kind of sort out the puzzle pieces and try to put it together and clean up the mess. There's an old adage that says, when seconds count, law enforcement are minutes away. It's true. And it's really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. But, bad things happen in a matter of 30 seconds. And I think Dayton is a good example of that. It's a very good example of that. And the faster that you respond to something like that, the less casualties it's going to be. And not to say that anybody that is of good sound mind, and anybody that like us and a lot of firearms trainers around the country and self-defense instructors, they're very caring about society and the people around them. It's not just themselves and their family, but perfect strangers. And that's why we do what we do. Nobody in their right mind wants to take that shot and to kill a person, regardless of what they're doing. But the fact of the matter is, if they're killing innocent people at random for no reason whatsoever, the only way to stop them is to do that. And it's unfortunate. I wish it didn't have to be that way, but it is that way. So we need to look at that. And so, like Steph said, if you can carry a gun and you're emotionally strong enough to do that, and you've made that decision, get training. Don't just take a basic class. Go after the defensive training and get more and more and more. Because the fact of the matter is, under stress, you're going to revert to your lowest level of training. So if all you've had is a basic safety class, then that's what's going to happen. And it's not the movies, folks. Gunfights don't happen like the movies. So, anything else?
Nope, just stay safe, stay aware.
Take care.
If you like our content, be sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. To get notifications, click on the bell icon right next to the subscribe button. Thank you.